Welcome to The Lounge Show, your weekly stop for films, food, fashion, and more. On the show this week, South African author Shabnam Khan talks about her new book, Onion Tears. And we review Steven Spielberg's new film, Warhorse. What's it like to be a young writer at Asia's biggest literary festival? In the first interview of a series, we speak to Shabnam Khan, the author of Onion Tears, about reading, writing, and being at the Jaipur Literature Festival this January. Shabnam Khan is a young South African of Indian origin and a university professor. Onion Tears is her first book and tells the story of 3 generations of South African women.
It's a novel about 3 generations of Indian Muslim women living in South Africa. The first generations her father had arrived from India, and she lives in South Africa, but she considers herself very much an Indian. And then the next generation considers herself very South African, and then there's the 11-year-old girl who doesn't really know, she hasn't really been thinking about these things like identity. But it sort of explores each of their lives through different chapters in the novel and sort of their perspective on identity and being an Indian South African woman. It is loosely based on an aunt of mine, my mother's sister, and sort of my mother has 6 sisters and I have 3 older sisters. So I think inevitably I ended up writing about women. And I've seen how my mother's sisters, and even women in general in the Indian community, sort of that patriarchal society has come from India even to South Africa. And I've seen the lives that they've lived, and it's, they work really hard. And I didn't realize, but I started writing the story about how hard their lives were. And
2 Steven Spielberg movies have been nominated at the Oscars this year. The first is The Adventures of Tintin, and the second is Warhorse, which releases in India this weekend. Warhorse is set during the First World War and is about a young man's search for his steed, which gets separated from him amid all the fighting. Sanjukta Sharma has this review.
There are some quintessentially Spielberg moments in his new film Warhorse. The film's protagonist, the Warhorse, runs frantically across a muddy, wired landscape during World War I. He crosses dangerous terrains until his body is covered in barbed wire. This is a masterly sequence, difficult to imagine anyone else but Spielberg filming. Be brave! So like all his films, Warhorse has the visual sweep, but the storytelling itself, with loads of mush and easy coincidences, makes the film boring. In its simple, limited emotional scope, Warhorse is more a children's film. Joey the horse is trained by Albert, a boy from the picturesque English countryside of Devon. Albert has to somehow save his father's farm. Eventually, Joey ends up at the trenches, being passed on to various owners. At 146 minutes, Warhorse is testing, especially since it doesn't appeal to anything other than the simple instinct of animal love. Certainly not Spielberg's best.
And that's it for this week. Thanks for watching.